Alright guys, such Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far as the players fly out to Riyadh for the Esports World Cup. Dashy's been giving his perspective on the groups that have now been confirmed for the tournament and saying that as OpTic as the world champions, they maybe should have had an easier group than they have turned out to have. There are 5 amateur teams at this event and some of them are in a bit of chaos going into the tournament. Dashy reckons that as the world champs, they should have at least had 2 of those amateur teams in their pool rather than 2 pro teams with some serious upset potential. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. Just firstly, looking at this, I know people were throwing these all around over the last couple of days, like grok analysis on which accounts are visiting the profile. I don't really think that any of this analysis is actually true a lot of the time, to be honest, because I don't think it knows, because it's literally not public, but everyone has been doing this, and people have been trying to say, oh, well, here we go, Drazah's visiting the FaZe page, Shotzzy's visiting the FaZe page. Does it mean there's anything going on? No, it doesn't mean there's anything going on, and Shotzzy isn't going to FaZe anytime soon, I wouldn't imagine. Could Simp go to OpTic? That's, of course, the other question. It is interesting, and just to look at some of these numbers, this is Simp's average placing as a pro in his career, and well, he has the #1 average tournament placing ever, as we know, with an average placing of a 2.60. The lowest this ever got was 2.06. He nearly got down under a 2, and then at the end of Cold War, as we know, he had that top 8 finish at Major 5 in Cold War, where they lost to Classic, Nicky D, and that Surge team. And then, you know, it all, of course, well, it didn't all fall apart. They still won champs, right, just after that tournament. But, yeah, we can see how things have gone since then. It's kind of remarkable to have a consistency on this level. But, yeah, after champs, it's dropped down to a 2.6. So, just pretty interesting to look at Simp's career. Of course, there's a pretty high sample size now at this point. There was also some other interesting stats on Mercules. So, you know, Merc, some interesting EWC, let's say, trivia, really, and potential realities. Mercules can become the first player since Simp to win back-to-back lands as a rookie. That's not happened since Simp in 2019. OpTic are looking to win back-to-back events for the first time as a franchise since 2017. Dashy and Shotzzy can become the 3rd duo or trio in the CDL history to win 5 lands together. And then Mercules could actually pass Simp for the best average placing if they were to make the finals, because Mercules in his 3 tournaments has come, what, 4th, 3rd and 1st. So, you know, he's averaging a 2.67. So if he were to, you know, win EWC as well, okay, the sample size wouldn't be as much to really, it's nothing to write home about maybe, but it's certainly something to consider. The other thing on Mercules is he could be able to make the most money any player has ever made in a 4 tournament stretch. So the highest earnings through 4 events in COD history. Simp made 283k in his first 4 events, right? So like most of these players, so I'm guessing this is like first 4 events you ever played, and because for Simp that would probably be about right after, you know, what he did towards the end of BO4, and Hicks, it'd be kind of the same story, second at champs, winning a tournament and all this. But Mercules in his first 4 events, I mean, he's only played 3, and his 4th one is going to be the World Cup. So if he wins more than 60k at the World Cup, he would surpass Simp for most earnings ever in the first 4 tournaments of a career, which, to do that, I think he has to make the finals. So, because, what is it, 3rd place gets you maybe 320 grand, or maybe that's, no, I think that 2nd place gets you 320 grand, so that would be enough. 3rd place, I think, gets you 200 grand, so that would be 50k each. So if OpTic come 3rd, and this year, by the way, there actually is a 3rd place. I've not mentioned this yet, but there is going to be a 3rd place at the World Cup. Last year it was just 3rd or 4th, but this year they've actually been doing consolidation finals. So there is a final that will determine who comes 3rd, who comes 4th. You might not care about that, but it is a thing that they're doing this year to add one more matchup, I think, to the Championship Sunday, because they are going to actually have a 3rd place champion. Last year it was just top 4, but they've done this in the other esports, I think, this year at the World Cup, and they're going to do it again. They also did this back in the day in COD. I mean, back in Advanced Warfare, OpTic had just been eliminated, and then they had to play a 7th, 8th place playoff against Team Caliber to see who would come 7th. OpTic won it and came 7th and made a bit more money. But, you know, it was just, you know, one of the things that you probably don't want to do as a team that's already been eliminated from a tournament. There was also a quick question just before we discuss the OpTic stuff. Best COD player to never win a ring. Now, this is definitely one of the images of all time with Kremp, Nastie, Ghosty, and JoeDeceives. I don't think any of these guys are the answer. There are a few answers that come to mind now that no longer, you know, it was obviously Dashy, it was Octane before that maybe, before they got a ring. You might well say Scrap, I think, definitely in the convo. I think, honestly, I would look further in the past. I would say, in my eyes, I think Saints is right up there, a player who's often overlooked. And I like the two that come to mind for me often are Saints and Jerd. And, you know, you could also throw Zuma in the mix as well, to be fair. But there's loads of great players who didn't win a ring. But I think a lot of the guys nowadays who have proven to be like best or right up there, they've already won one. It's kind of Scrap that hasn't yet. And I'd probably throw Gunless into the mix as well, just in terms of like pure ability. Yeah, probably those are the 4 names that I would mention. But the OpTic guys were talking about a few things, and Dashy was specifically mentioning the World Cup. Now, Hitch made a pretty funny comment to say, oh, were you guys really, you know, putting in that much work last year? Like, how much you guys really trying? And Dashy was like, yeah, I was trying last year. Like, you know, we were trying. We could have maybe won it. Look, at the end of the day, we know that those teams weren't taking it that serious for last year's World Cup. They didn't really know what it was going to be, like how serious the tournament was. It turned out the tournament was pretty serious and there's loads of money on the line, so they decided this year certainly to lock in. I mean, last year we had scrims getting streamed before the World Cup. Certainly not happened this year, right? We've got 8s and stuff, but like the scrims aren't going public. I think last year we had some of that. So yeah, there was definitely an element of this year the teams are locking in a little bit more than they previously did. Dashy says, like, it wasn't like we weren't trying last year. It just didn't work out. We lost to FaZe, single elimination. It is what it is. And Dashy says, yeah, he would like it to be double elim. Absolutely. That would be preferable for many of us. It's just, you know, over a 4-day tournament, you could make it double elim. There would just be so many matches happening all the time, and it's not the way that the EWC have decided to do things. But I do think that they might consider a change here. They just like to keep things consistent across esports. And they've introduced this year the 3rd place playoff, the consolidation match. Across, I mean, they certainly did it across Valorant, and they're doing it in COD, I think, as well. So, you know, could they at some point make a lot of things double elim? I think they definitely could, but where they would host the other games, because, you know, the group stages, there's loads of games happening all the time, but the main stage is for the main matchup, and they kind of want to have it that way for the remainder of the tournament as well. So, you know, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I would maybe like to see best of 7 single eliminations in the future, but of course that also involves its own serious time constraints. But Dashy was also looking at the new groups. Now, this was before they were made official, but we saw them be officially confirmed over the coming days. And, well, we'll see what they are in a second if you guys are unfamiliar. But Dashy's looking at the groups and saying, damn, they thought they had Ravens in their group. They no longer do because Ravens aren't there anymore. But Ravens didn't get replaced for them by an amateur team. They got replaced by another, theoretically, maybe better pro team right now, with the changes that maybe Cloud9 have made to try and give them a chance, let's say, going into the World Cup. And then they've got one amateur team in their group, whereas Dashy saying, look, we just won champs. We should get the absolute best possible treatment, and therefore we should be getting the other amateur team in instead of the Ravens.
Except for flights.
Oh, yeah, we're coming to that locked, bro. It's going to be fun to watch. We got pool play. Got some amateur teams competing in there.
I heard y'all taking it serious this year and shit.
Wait, we were taking it serious last year.
Oh.
Shut your off. We were going hard last year.
Listen, I know that people are saying that if a fucking pro player didn't take that shit seriously, they're fucking stupid. And I don't know why. Listen, as a person in charge, I should be like, hey man, you better fucking take this shit fucking serious. You know what I'm saying?
We honestly should have won it. Like we just lost the FaZe and then single limb, so that we kind of got. That's the only thing I would change about this tournament is to make it double limb in bracket play. But
if it's single limb, BO7,
yeah, or best of 7.
Just think about it. If you bring that logo to the podium, it'd be the first time since 2019
or 20. Yeah, what?
2018, BO4, right?
Yeah,
2018.
Since 2018, since OpTic Gaming has held the fucking trophy.
There's the groups.
Here, we're back to the groups. Thank
holy
you,
shit,
man.
we found it.
Back in here.
So
Wait,
this is
what?
What? What?
Oh,
What are you saying? Want to?
TBD.
because we were supposed to have Ravens for Cloud9
Yeah.
to be determined. That other AM team. How does that make sense? Like the other AM team is just removed, and then Group D has 2 AM teams.
Wait, let me read it.
We're the world champs. How do we have the hardest bracket? You know?
Group D is 2 AM teams. You guys have 1 AM team that is not decided yet.
Okay, but we do have an AM team coming, but we only have one. Group B has
because Group D had Falcons instead of P7 Esports.
Got it.
I mean, yeah. Now our group is hard. Group C is like kind of hard too.
The hardest is obviously Group D. Heretics, FaZe.
It was Group D.
Oh wait, not anymore, right?
Yeah, they had Falcons there.
I mean, Omit's probably the best AM team there, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So
they're actually pretty solid. No
yeah.
bullshit.
So that
Who's
that's
on-
Mac
who's on
Meltz,
Omit?
Reese. That's like basically another pro team.
Yeah,
That's
so-
Mac, Reese. I don't know the other two. I can't lie.
Is it
Mac Meltz.
Is Byron on that team?
Proloot.
He might be.
I can't remember.
I actually don't know, but I do know Mac Meltz and Reese Vivid. I don't know the fourth. He's probably him.
He's
Yeah.
probably him.
He's probably disgusting.
I'm with Solly Girl 714 that Envy should take one of those AM spots.
So OpTic should be fine regardless, right? Looking at their group, they are the number 1 seed and they are playing the 8th and the 9th seed at the tournament because Ravens are gone, they're not even there. So G2 got promoted to the 8th seed and Cloud9 got promoted to the 9th seed. So technically, OpTic have the best group in terms of, yes, they're the number 1 seed and they play the weakest possible pro teams and then one of the weakest challenger teams as well in 5 Fears. So, it should still be fine. Is Dashy wrong that maybe it was meant to be G2 and Ravens and then another amateur team? And then when Ravens got kicked out for another amateur team, Dashy would have liked it to be, well, they should have had 2 amateur teams. But then when you reorganize the seedings, it's worked out in this way. And look, I don't think that OpTic should have too much to worry about here. G2 with Kenny, maybe they could be a threat. The new Cloud9 team, who really knows what they're going to do. But OpTic just won the World Championship in a very dominant way. So it's difficult to imagine that things are going to massively fall apart for them. Just to mention who plays who in the second round. So last year, the way that the bracket worked is it was the first seed in Group A against the second seed in Group B. And then the other way around. That was the first seeded match. And then if you won that game in the bracket, you would play the winner of the first seed in Group D and the second seed in Group C. That was the other games. So, effectively, if you look at this bracket, like based on what could happen here, let's say Surge are the number 1 seed. Let's say the groups just simply go by seeding. The bracket, I think first rounds, the bracket would be OpTic 100T, loser goes home. And then the winner of that would play, Heretics or Toronto, or if FaZe were the number 1 seed, it might well be FaZe. So, basically the bracket is going to be stacked, is pretty much what we're saying here. And it's almost inevitable that, because OpTic have a nice run in Group A, but as a result of that, they also have the theoretical, decent run into whoever they play next, because 100 Thieves, because they were eliminated last, were like the 7th seed. So it's funny how it works, because OpTic will look at this technically by the seedings, and OpTic have the easiest possible run, because they play the 8th and the 9th seed in their group and then an amateur team. And then if they win their group, which they are expected to do, they will play the 2nd seed in Group B, who are expected to be the 7th seed. So, OpTic on paper have just an incredible run. But it doesn't work like that, right? Because Thieves ended up being one of the surprisingly weaker seeds. And if Thieves win their group, then Surge would then, be their potential matchup, their rematch of the grand finals. So, by the numbers, it's been done perfectly fairly, but sometimes things don't always work out to be so fair in reality, right? As we know, there have been plenty of occasions in COD's history at World Championship past when a team will come out of their group as the first seed. They will then happen to play the second best team in the game because that second best team got upset in their group and therefore they became the 2nd seed. And all of a sudden you've got Team Caliber versus Rise Nation, first round of the 2018 World Championships, and the rest is history. So, it can happen, but at the end of the day, if you want to win this tournament, you've got to beat who's in front of you. And if OpTic play like they did at the World Championship, they should have no concerns with basically whoever they play. It's also very interesting, let's say OpTic did play Thieves in the second round of the tournament, and OpTic knock them out or something. We're not necessarily condemning them, but, let's say OpTic eliminate FaZe at some point, or FaZe get knocked out early, and maybe OpTic actually do the knocking out. They're almost condemning them to make a change, right? So that's the thing with this single elimination format, is that things can get very interesting very quickly indeed. So very much interested to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.